us conversating. He say I'm happy you called, what you been up to lately? I said
All right, let's get into it. All right, welcome to Life in Plumbing. We are back. All right, copper fittings. Copper fittings are widely used in plumbing for various purposes. They are commonly used to connect copper pipes in water supply systems, heating systems, plumbing fixtures, and gas lines. Copper fittings ensure secure and leak-free connections, allowing for a smooth flow of water or gas. They are preferred in plumbing due to their corrosion resistance, durability, and ability to withstand high temperatures and pressures. Additionally, copper fittings are easy to install and require minimal maintenance. All right, so let's get into it. The first one we are looking at right now is the copper 90. All right, here is a copper 90. It is basically 90 degrees. All right, that's why they call it a copper 90. All right, I've got it in two different views for you guys to kind of see it. This is about the size. You'll see a 3/4, and they come in 1/2 inch, 3/4, all the way up to 2 inch, 4 inch, whatever, but they're all going to look the same when it comes to the copper. And this is your 90-degree elbow. So they're called 90s, and they're also called elbows. So some people call them elbows, some people call them 90s. So, you know, kind of go off of whatever your foreman or whoever's in charge is telling you. That they say it 90, they say elbow, they're expecting you to grab this one right here. The next one is a copper T. T meaning you can say that this is where the water's coming in. It's going to go through here. It's going to hit this way and that way. All right. That's what we use it for. So it's omnidirectional. It's hitting up two ways. All right. Here's the inside right here. We're going to talk about that when we get. So what you see right here, how that gloss is, this is what you want to get off, right? Because once you put your pipe in here, you're going to want to sand it so that it's all sanded up. And then you're able to slide your pipe in here and actually with the solder and the flux. Here's your T right here. Here is your copper male adapter. MIP is what we call them. Male adapters or MIPs. What we call them MIPs because this is the male end of the fitting. This is the part with the threads. All right. So the male is the ones with the threads on the outside. Remember that. Male adapters. Okay. And what this does is if you're trying to connect to a PVC, brass fitting, whatever it is that you are transitioning to, you're going to use this adapter. That's why it's called an adapter. It's going to adapt to different materials. All right. Here is the female. Now these two, you're going to see a lot together. This is the female. It's female because now you have the threads in the inside. All right. So the inside is the female. The outside is the male. Okay. So same difference. You're going to use, this is a transition to PVC. Sometimes you put caps on the ends of these for clean outs. That's what these are used for as well. Next we have your copper caps. All right. So say it's the end of a line. You're coming out of this T right here. Water's coming through here. It's going this way, and we're going to have a future line somewhere in here. So you'll stub out a little piece, maybe 6 inches to 12 inches, and then you're going to put a cap on it. All right, and that's where you would use the cap. All right, cup links. All right, so you have a 10-foot stick of pipe. You need 11 feet. This is what you're going to want to grab. You're going to want to grab a cup link. All right. So there's usually a stop on these. So this one I would be mindful of is some of these don't have stops on them. So what you're going to have to do is get the overall length of this, mark the half, whatever that number is. Maybe this is a 2 inch, and then it's going to be 1 inch in there on your pipe. You're going to mark 1 inch, and you're going to slide it in there until you're right next to your line, so that you know it doesn't go all the way through. And that's called a slip cup link. Those are good when you're trying to do like a repair, and you know you want minimal space. You want it to be connected back to back. You want to make sure that you use a slip cup link, because if you use the stop, which is probably this one right here. I think I could see it right here. It's a stop in the middle. You're gonna have all this part. You're not gonna be able to go past this. So if the pipe is in here, it's gonna stop right here, and then you're gonna have to connect it this way. So that's why you're gonna have to transition between and figure out what you need, but it will be a stop or a slip coupling. All right, it's a stop coupling if it has a stop and it doesn't go all the way through. Slip coupling is if it goes all the way through. All right, here we all have a 45 because it's at a 45 degree, doesn't quite hit that 90. This is a 45 degree copper fitting right here. All right, so 45s are used pretty frequently. I know a lot of people don't like to use 45s, so some companies won't even have them, but for the majority that I've worked for, they have 45, so we use them. Just a little bit of offsets and stuff like that. These are used for like swing joints and stuff like that, which is frowned upon. I don't like doing swing joints, but if I have to, I'll do them. I just try to make it look as clean as possible. I'm not a big fan of 45s, but I'd rather use 90s. But if you have to, this is what you'll do. All right, here is your copper union. Copper unions. All right, so these you're going to use when you have to service, or when do we use these? We use these for trap primers. Like this looks like a 1/2 inch, so if you'll see like we'll have a pipe coming up through here, and then you'll have like say the flow starts from here and it's going through here. You're gonna have your usually a valve up here, and you're able to and then you're gonna have your then you'll have your union, and then you'll have your distribution box or trap primer right here. And the reason for that is if you have a valve right here in this area, you can shut off the water, and then you can service your trap primer. So that's usually what these are used for, when you have to when you want to disconnect it. All right, if anything you want to disconnect on the other side of the water, you're able to stop it here and do your service here. All right, those are copper unions. Now remember, all these two it's the same for every size. They may be a little different, but nothing too crazy. For the most part, you'll know exactly what it looks like. As long as you know these, it doesn't matter if it's 1/2 inch or 2 inch. It's pretty much all the same. All right, and if they say brass, then it's just a brass looking one of these. Okay, so here we have a reducer. Obviously a reducer is going to reduce. Here's your reducer. Say this is 1/2 inch and then this is 3/4. You're gonna put your 1/2 inch line here, and then it'll crease to 3/4 here. All right, so that is a reducer. It's pretty self-explanatory. We use these quite often as well. All right, so let's talk about the pipe. All right, you have the green, the blue, the red. These colors are very important. Know them by color, know them by type. Type M, type L, and type K. And what they're used for and why they're used for it. Okay, so type K is usually used in residential, so underground residential. Why? Because it has thick walls, it can handle high pressure applications and underground installations. That is the green. I think about when I was first learning which one's which, I thought about green being in grass, so it's like outside. All right, so that's a good way to think about it. K, green, grass. All right, type L. Type L is what I use very often in commercial. This is the one, this is the one we use most of the time. And this is the one we got to watch out for. We got to make sure when you're in commercial or any job, you always want to make sure you have the right type of copper, okay? Especially in commercial. If it's residential, then obviously it's, per preference, whatever the customer or you want to install, but for the most part there is a huge price difference because of the thickness, but you have to also watch the details and the specs on these things, because you can't just put M underground when it's it's the thinnest walls, okay? Because you're gonna you have a great chance of poking holes in them because they have thin walls. All right, so make sure you guys are paying attention to the types. So type M, thinnest walls, medium walls, versatile for water supply and heating systems. this is what we use for most commercial waters. You're never going to really use type N for waters. That's residential. So because it has thin walls, it's used for general piping and lower pressure applications, which are like homes, using residential water and commercial condensation applications. So that was my next thing to get to. We will use this in commercial, but we use them for condensates, right? So it's no pressure, it's just basically water getting to and from a place. All right, common pipe sizes. This is what you're going to see starting off, 1/2 inch to 4 inch. I mean, you could probably see way bigger out there, but when I first started, these were like how I had to learn. It was like basically up to 4 inch. We were doing a lot of schools, so we started from 1/2 inch and we went to 4 inch. I think 4 inch was the biggest that I soldered as an apprentice, which is pretty crazy. Well, at that time. So obviously these aren't accurate. I tried my best to circle them all. I don't know how this one became an oval, but it did. But you get the point. 1/2 inch is the smallest, up to 4 inch, and everything in between. You guys can learn that, so you guys can kind of know what's going on, or you'll see the difference between these two, and you guys will figure it out. The best way to figure it out is if you're in a pinch, you'll learn 1/2 inch. You'll know that. And 3/4 are pretty like commonly used. 3/4 and 1 inch do get confusing if you're just like in a hurry and you're grabbing and going, you're not paying attention. Those can get confusing. 1 inch to 1.25 inches can get confusing. 1.25 inches definitely to 1.5 inches get confusing. So when they're close together like this, you want to pay attention. But when they're far and you're only using like 3/4 and 1/2, you'll figure those out pretty quickly. But as you start progressing in the sizes or increasing in sizes, then you want to make sure that you're paying attention to which one you're getting. So it's usually, for the most part, generally we're using 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 2 inch for the most part, but actually 1. So yeah, we're pretty much using all of these. Pretty much you're going to see every single one of these. If you're doing a big job, you're pretty much going to see all this. So just make sure you guys are paying attention, and this is just a visual of what the pipe will look like out there, especially if it's stacked in a bundle. This is what that bundle will look like, and when it's all the same color, it's kind of confusing. Also, you have the type on this pipe, but you also have the diameter too. It'll tell you it's 3/4, it'll tell you it's 1/2 inch, or it'll tell you it's or 1 inch pipe. So you'll actually see it on the pipe as well. All right, so let's talk about the tools we'll use for this. Here is the flux, the reamer. I don't know, I almost forgot. The reamer, the cutters, the copper cutters, and you have your solder, and then you have your sand cloth. All right, and I'll explain what order this goes in. If you guys haven't seen my soldering video, make sure you check that out. It'll pretty much show you all of this, minus the cutters. I don't know if I was cutting in there. I don't think I was cutting in there, but pretty self-explanatory. These are the rigid copper cutters, and it's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty easy. So for the most part, just because we're talking about it, let's talk about what we'll do first. You will sand the pipe first. Then you will, you could sand it, ream it, sand it, whichever one goes first on these ones. But after you do, we'll sand it first, then we'll ream it, the pipe, then we'll put on the flux, right? And then we will solder it, okay? That's after you cut your piece. The first thing you're gonna do is actually cut your piece. Figure out what it is. It's 5 foot. Okay, we're gonna cut it. We're going to ream it, sand it, flux it, solder it. All right, we're gonna cut the pipe. We're going to ream the pipe. We can sand it, flux it, and solder it. All right. So that's pretty much what it looks like, so you guys can get an idea. I kind of wanted you guys to see it. We use lead-free solder. So if it's water, if it's has any, 0.5 is like the minimum, I believe, or 0.1 of lead, but for the most part, I don't think we can have any lead, especially in California, no lead at all. So since I've been an apprentice back in 2013, I've only used lead-free solder. All right. So make sure you guys are checking that too as well, because you do not want to be putting lead inside, water pipes and stuff like that, especially if it's potable. All right. And then this one I just threw in as a bonus. Here is a bandsaw. There's different sizes. There's sizes that cut from inch and, I think the smallest bandsaw that I have cuts at 1 5/8 inches. There are the deep cut ones that cut like 4 inch. All right, so you've got different sizes of bandsaws. From what I hear now, like since I was apprentice, I've always cut with a bandsaw. Every once in a while, I'll use my rigid cutters, but for the most part, I've always used a bandsaw. But I'm hearing now that it is a code that you have to cut with cutters, copper cutters. So till then, I would have these first. If you're an apprentice, you want these. They have ABS ones, they have PVC cutters, and then these are the copper cutters. So you want to make sure you have the right ones. For the most part, if you get the copper cutters when you're starting out, you should be fine. Alright, and that is the video. I hope you guys got something from that, and I will see you guys on the next one. Alright,
Me and my God always conversating. He say I'm